This is NICU Babies Parent Support with Catherine Whitaker, a podcast from Hand to Hold, a national nonprofit that provides free personalized support, resources, and community before, during, and after a NICU stay. My conversations here will focus on education and personal stories with medical and hospital professionals, counselors, therapists, and NICU moms and dads from across the country. Whether you're preparing for a NICU stay, you're currently there, or you're months and years past your stay, you belong here. The NICU is hard. We're here to help. I'm your host, Catherine Whitaker, the mom of 6 children, including my very own NICU baby, and I'm so honored you're here. Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so grateful that you're here. We're almost done with podcasts in 2023, if you can believe it. It has been such an exceptional year of such great guests with so many varied topics, so much wisdom, so many different life experiences. I hope that you have loved them. I hope that they have been a real benefit to you. I wanted to have my guest on today to talk about a topic that I think we deal with every day. You are dealing with it right now. You are watching this or listening to this on some sort of technological device. So I felt like having someone to talk about the marriage of technology and then working with our NICU babies, whether it is in their infancy or as they are learning to hit new milestones. How can technology aid us in that? And then what are some specific things that may help us either get more sleep? Every mom is like, sign me up for that. Which things can help our children communicate better? And so I thought there was no better guest than Katie Linendoll. You have probably seen her on your TV screens if you watch morning TV, if you are on social media. I have no doubt that when you see her and hear her voice, you'll be like, yep, I know exactly who that is. So I'm so grateful that my guest today is Katie Linendoll. She is an Emmy Award-winning TV personality, consumer technology expert, and one of the leading women in the field of technology. Katie has hosted numerous TV and digital series and special events. She has contributed hundreds of print and online written pieces for top outlets and can regularly be seen on your TV and in digital segments in series such as The Today Show, The Rachael Ray Show, The Weather Channel, and CBS Sports Radio, just to name a few. Katie has been named a Silicon Valley visionary and leads a faith-filled, active lifestyle while also devoting a large percentage of her time and to select philanthropic causes in healthcare, retired canines, and U.S. veterans. She is also passionate about music, and her songs and music videos in the country music genre have hit the charts. I know, she's amazing. So with that, let's chat. Well, I am so honored to have you here, Katie. I normally just get to see you on the internet, but now we get a chance to visit.
You're such a dear friend. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I just love following your journey and all things about you.
Well, you're sweet. You are normally like on the Rachael Ray Show or on the Today Show. So it's an honor to have you on A Hand to Hold telling us a little bit about technology. But I think I want to give people an idea of where you started so they kind of have a sense of who you are and why you're such an expert. So maybe let's start with, how did you as a woman get involved in a field that's primarily dominated by men?
Yes, I started in technology. I have to go way back and say at a time where tech was not as cool as it is right now. I started coding when I was around 12, 13 years old on this dinosaur computer that my uncle had given us. And I was down in our house in Erie, Pennsylvania, in the basement, like bringing things to life with code. And I just, one of the first things you learn how to code is hello world. And it was almost like a metaphor for me because I had found at an early age my fascination with technology. And I was just like, hello world. This is just another environment that I was made to be working in technology. And I loved it from an early age. And then from there, I went on to get my networking certs before I graduated high school. And then I went and got a degree in IT from the Rochester Institute of Technology. And that's when really technology just began to explode. And everybody's a tech expert now. Everybody's fascinated with gadgets and the latest and the greatest. So it's made my job almost easier because everybody wants to hear what I have to say and all the latest products that I showcase when I'm doing TV segments or I'm hosting different shows. But it has truly been a career, which is almost like a lifetime for me. And it's vast too. I think that's the wild part of, my journey. It's technology and the things that I cover. My primary focus is consumer technology. But it moves into cyber, into fintech, financial tech, into so many other areas. And I'm just so fascinated and just enamored with the positive side of what technology can do that it's just never ending. I mean, I need more hours in the day. And thanks to God, this career has just been very fruitful and exciting. And it's just a blast.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the technology, how it can be an aid, not a deterrent, because I think the thing that I love about you, Katie, is that you really love what you do. And it shows, because I think when we find something that, we've been gifted with and we have this interest, and then we tie those two together and then we share it. I mean, I think it makes what you share more believable, more authentic, because you live it, you breathe it, you love it, and you're not just doing it because it's your job. You do it because you love it. And that's why you're here, because I think that, one, I think you're a great role model for women. I know we have a lot of women who listen to this podcast, so I think you're a great role model for women, but I think you're also a great role model for finding the thing that it is that you love and then sharing it, giving it away, and telling people how they can, use it better. So that's why you're here. So what I know that we have like all these new gadgets, like when we were talking about how technology can aid, not deter, give me an idea of what you mean by that. Like, because I think we hear a lot about, I got a bunch of teenagers who all happen to be on social media. And so sometimes the phone is like glued permanently to them. So I know sometimes we hear the bad parts of technology, but I know that you also see the good parts of technology and gadgets and how they can help better our lives. So let's talk about that for a second.
Very much so. And I think, for me, it's always been about the focus of, there's so many things that hit my desk. And I think right now I'm sitting at 200,000 unread emails, and I'm not even like exaggerating. That's literally my inbox. There's so many pitches that I get of new tech and scary tech and tech that's not great. I'm like, okay, for me, it's about focusing on what brings somebody joy. And my favorite thing is like the innovations in technology that are really game changers for people out there. Those are the stories that I love to find, because it's so easy in this crazy world to focus on the negativity. And like right now, for example, I cover a lot of AI. I've been covering AI for years before it hit this just acceleration point. Yeah. And there's so many avenues that I could go down that are just negative. But I like to, if I'm going to spend time researching and preparing a story, I want it to be exciting and positive for others to hear and to listen to. And I think a perfect example of that is right now, VR. I've been covering VR since its infancy. I was at the place where it was invented by Lucky Palmer. I watched it from the ground up be created, virtual reality. And, when we think about the metas of the world, Facebook and all these different companies, they want you into this virtual environment. And there's so many directions you can say, oh my goodness, this is just too overwhelming. We need to stay focused. We need to stay in the real world. Let me give you like an example of where it can be incredibly positive. I've been working as a volunteer in the pediatric cancer space for over a decade now, and working very closely and intimately with a number of families. And we have been using VR as distraction technology when the kids are in the hospital and they have those long days of treatment and radiation and chemo. And there couldn't be a worse environment with, typically white walls and just a very mundane environment. It's just, they're in pain. They're hurting. What if they can be on a roller coaster or underwater diving with whales or in a race car and take their mind off of what is going on with this environment that is so incredibly immersive? And I always say with virtual reality, it's such a one-to-one experience. And I think that's one of the many reasons it hasn't become very household, because you really need to put somebody in the best VR system and say, let me show you 3 games, 3 programs, 3 entertainment options, and see for yourself what I'm talking about and how wild virtual reality is. But that's an environment that I think is a testament to how technology can be so positive. Right. And of course, we've seen VR used in real estate. I mean, you can get to 10 places in one day as opposed to driving and looking at one house. You can go virtually into all these different rooms. I think there's just positive ways to focus, as opposed to always looking at the negative spin, which of course we know in today's entertainment world, we're so bombarded by.
I am so glad that you mentioned the pediatric cancer unit. So our son spends time, it's in the hematology cancer office. So these are doctors who also work with cancer patients. And when we were doing blood draws with him, which he has to have a bunch, he sees them on a regular basis. Katie, we went through so many things, the numbing cream, all the things, the medicines and all the things. And it wasn't until we had a distraction technique. So they brought in the iPad and we found a game that he loved. And that I mean, and I was like, and that is free. That cost us no dollars, and it doesn't hurt, and it's fantastic. And so to take that one step further, and I'm thinking about many of those. I mean, we have to have infusions on a regular basis, and I think, man, if we had been in that environment, there are so many kids that would have benefited from that. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
Yes, no, and thank you for sharing that personal story because I think when people hear it, one of my little besties that has been unfortunately going through it's over 10 relapses at this point, and now he has the add-on of leukemia. One of the biggest advantages for him in just staying distracted, if you will, has been his gaming system. And I got that gaming system for him. I'm having chills. Like 5 years ago, it was and it's still his go-to device because he loves his gaming. And again, you're in those. As you shared, you're there for the full day, and it's
Yep.
just it's rough. It's in a place that you don't want to be. How can we use technology to better the environment?
This podcast is produced by Hand to Hold, a national nonprofit, but we're more than simply a podcast. Be sure to download our app, join one of our support groups, or find one-to-one support, enjoy counseling, find loss and bereavement support, participate in a peer-to-peer mentor program, or check out our news, articles, and family stories at handtohold.org. All of that is at no cost to you. Hand to Hold's mission is to provide personalized support before, during, and after a NICU stay to help ensure that all NICU families thrive. All right. Well, speaking of technology, I know that you've created this wonderful list of technology that I think is going to be fantastic for parents. So I'm going to let you take it over and I'll interject with some questions, but I know that you have some good products to share with us. So yeah, if you're not watching on YouTube, you should definitely do that. So jump over there.
Yes. So this was really fun because God blesses each of us in different ways. And I am a proud aunt. I have lots of nieces and nephews, and I'm like the cool aunt hopefully for as long as I possibly can be with all like the gadgets and the fun stuff. I get them all sugared up and then I leave. So,
you are 100% the cool aunt. So I wish you were my kid's aunt. You're amazing.
Hopefully as I held that title for a while. It's harder as they get older, but I worked with some of my family members and also my friends that for the best gadgets for moms. And I had to really narrow it down, but I'll start off first with my favorite gadget. I must have gifted, I think it's over 10 of these. It's called the Momaroo. It's from For Moms. You've probably heard of it. It's a multi-motion baby swing, and it's designed to mimic mom. So you put the little child inside, 5 motions, 5 speeds, from like car ride to kangaroo to rockabye, 4 built-in sounds. Also has Bluetooth capability, so you can play your phone through it if you'd like. And just basically you can adjust the motion from the app, or you can do it manually, of course, adjustable recline. But the Momaroo is just an incredible gadget. And I can't tell you how many of my friends have been like, it's life-changing. Thank you so much. So it's always my go-to gift. It's upwards of just about $250. It's a little expensive, but as probably a mom, you could attest when you get that extra spare time and baby's rocking and everybody's happy, it's worth its weight in gold.
I'm just thinking when you mentioned the app, I'm just thinking if that had existed 14 years ago when Luke spent a ridiculous amount of time, and it was like the Mercedes-Benz back then. I don't think it was the Momaroo, but if I had given the app to my kids, there's no telling where he would have spun off to if I had given them the app. I love that you can control it there. I mean, isn't that fascinating that so many things we can control from our phones? So like if I'm in the kitchen cooking or nursing a baby or doing something, I can still manage that device. That's really cool.
It's wild. And then right off the heels of that too, while we're like keeping that conversation going about just being able to, do things remotely and have that extra set of hands. Mentioned it was like the Mercedes-Benz this is the Mercedes-Benz of baby bassinets. This is the priciest unit I have on my must-have list for moms. But it is, again, when you can get those extra hours of sleep, I think you can all agree it's just so worth it. The Snoo, I don't know if you've heard of this. It is a smart sleeper baby bassinet created by a pediatrician. And again, they kind of tout that it's like this extra set of hands. So the bassinet has natural moving, constantly gentle rocking motion, 5 different levels of sound and motion. And one of the biggest things, and it's very bold to put these kind of statements on their branding, 1 to 2 extra hours per night of sleep. And a quick response usually works in under a minute if the baby is fussing because of that gentle rocking motion. No risky rolling, keep the baby safe, always on the back. And it also comes with this hip safe swaddles. So again, just awesome for newborns up to 6 months for that natural sleep. The snoo baby bassinet must have for moms looking to get an extra hour to two of sleep and help with an extra set of hands.
I don't think any mom is going to say, no, I don't need any more sleep. I'm all good.
Is it worth a try? Probably, right?
I'm wishing I'd gotten an extra hour of sleep last night. So, okay, so it is a bassinet that, does it hook to the bed, Katie, or is it separate?
It's separate. Yeah, it's only like
Okay.
a contained unit. And these are all ones that one of my dear friends, I have to give her a shout out, Alicia Oliveri. She's like a sister to me. I've known her for 10 years. She has tested, these are all gadgets that are highly, highly in use by my friends or family members and all by Alicia too. There is nothing, she has to have the best of everything. And that was what makes her so great. So I know, having watched her use all of these units, they're so fantastic.
Well, and I mean, I think when you're talking about moms who are coming from the NICU, so we have these amazing nurses, but we don't get to bring the nurses home with us whenever we bring our babies home. And I know that like on the sleep schedule, typically their feeding schedules every 3 hours. And so, but they're used to being held. And I know that like that movement, I can't tell you, Katie, how many hours of my life I have stood in my bedroom and like been the human, bassinet rocking my children, trying to get them to go back to sleep. So knowing that there's a device that does just, because I think you're right. Sometimes when babies stir just a little bit as a new mom or even as a NICU mom, you're like, your default is to just quickly jump in. But then whenever you were to have a bassinet that would be able to do some of that, I can see how you could totally get extra hours of sleep. I'm sold. I wish, okay, maybe I should have another baby. Love it. All right. So hey, oh, by the way, what's the price point of that one, Katie?
That one, again, this is like the Mercedes-Benz of bassinets. That one's about 1,700. So
Okay.
I know it's going to be like, a little pricey, but that's the highest one on the unit. Worth it if you can get that extra hour to two of sleep.
Well, and if you can find other families, I know a bunch of us shared things. Like when one person would be in one season, they would use it and then we would pass it to the next person. And so we had this like little, underground system where we would share products and it worked out really well.
I love that. That's so smart.
I'm trying. All right. What do you have next? Yeah.
You talked about feeding. So let's hit that for a second there. This is an under $100 gadget. And it is, again, for my friends, a must, especially my new mom friends. And you probably have heard of it. It's the Baby Brew portable bottle warmer. And this is like the state-of-the-art bottle warming system. Perfect for a baby shower gift as well. I know I'm always looking for like baby shower gifts that are unique, that are also practical. You always want to get like the really cute outfits, but they're going to last like a month or two.
Right.
This is great. Baby Brew portable bottle warmer. And this is the third version of it. So it just keeps getting better. And I like that because in the world of technology, things are great. But then when they really get to like precision changing and everything's like, oh my gosh, could it get any better? I love that. Right. For the mom on the go, running errands, out for a lunch date, at home, it can heat up to 8 bottles on a charge, warms up a bottle in as little as 3 minutes. Stainless steel, it's leak proof, and it has advanced sensors on it to ensure the bottle is always the right temperature and alleviating any concern of risk of overheating. So a nice portable bottle warmer, and again, under $100.
And you don't even have to do that my husband used to do, that turn the wrist over, dump the milk, make sure if it burns, every mom knows that. So does it work for breast milk as well as formula? Is it for both?
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, sold. So far 3 things that I'm buying for people. So Katie, does it, like, how big is it? Can you charge it in your car or is it something that you would take and like plug in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if she's ever used it to charge in the car. So I'd have to follow up on that. But they've been taking it portably anywhere they go. And they travel a lot too.
Okay.
So that's sort of a really nice one to have on the road.
Or like if you're going back and forth, I know sometimes it was a challenge for us when we would go back and forth to the hospital and trying to find something in the hospital, because there would be times that either I wasn't available to nurse our son or my husband would have to do it. And sometimes it was formula, sometimes it was me. And so it was hard, when you're in a hospital and you don't always have access to what you need. That would be a really good option. I love that. These are great. You're hired.
I'm now on the baby gadget scene because I have so many friends that have babies. I'm like, what are the best gifts to get? I'm on like the other end of the spectrum. I'm like, what can I buy? Like that's what gets me excited.
I love it. All right. So we have sleeping, comforting, feeding. All right. What do you have
On
next?
let's talk about smart cameras, because this is one that I always get asked a lot by moms is, what is the best smart camera out there? And you can go on any website right now, and for 30, $40 and upwards, find yourself a litany of options in terms of smart cameras for baby monitoring. This one I have seen so many times, and it is, I would have to say, hands down my favorite, just for the clarity, but also the capability. And it's called the Nanit Pro Smart Baby Monitor. And you can either wall mount it, or there's a floor stand model. The floor stand model, I was like, I'm not too sure about it because it's kind of an overhead view, but my friends love it.
Yeah.
And it gives you 1080p video, again, that extra great clarity, but also gives you this overhead view in real time, of course, picture and sound alerts. You can toggle the sensitivity. There's also white noise and soothing sound options, two-way
Awesome.
and background audio, temperature and humidity. And here's the big one. So they have this optional Nanit Insights. If you want to track your baby's sleeping patterns and get tips to improve sleep quality, you can even get a highlight reel of the night's sleep, when they're getting up, when they're sleeping, when everything's good. They actually have a little monitored by breathing wearing tech that doesn't have any sensors into it. It just has different indicators on the fabric, so the camera will pick it up. So incredibly interesting. And you as a parent, you have that choice whether you want to just use the camera as its own, or if you do want to use that breathing technology that you can just wrap and toggle around them, kind of swaddle them in it. So again, I think there's so many options on the market. If somebody were to tell me hands down that everybody's done the research for me, this is the one that I would go with. $400, a little expensive, but again, I think we're talking about items. When it comes to technology, I say there's things that are worth the investment, and then there's things that you can get the knockoff version that'll just be fine. This, I want the best one if it's coming for a child, obviously.
Well, and it's not just, I mean, I know that we had monitors in our kids' rooms, particularly as they transition from baby to toddler, because when you move from the crib to the bed, you're like, what shenanigans are we up to this evening? And so it's not like you're just going to use it. Some products maybe you use for 6 months or a year, but I think this one you could use for a lot longer. I think when we first bought our first baby monitor, Katie, I had to go online to a security company because they were the only ones. Like, I remember no one else had a video monitor. And I was like, well, I'll just go to a security company. And so we had like the TV and everything. It was ancient, but it worked great. But now there's I'm dating myself. There's so many
Oh,
more
it's so
options.
smart though. Even in the last 5 years, just the baby cameras alone have just exploded in options. And I think that's good, but I also
Yeah.
think it's like overwhelming, because you're like, I hear so many parents say, just tell me the best one. Just tell me the
Right.
best one. I'll get it. Save me the time. And I think that makes it all the more easier.
Well, and there are some neonatal intensive care units who have cameras fixed on babies. So if you're not in the NICU, that you can still watch your baby, see your baby. But there are some NICUs that don't have that technology. So this might be something that if you speak to your, medical team and say, hey, I have this monitor. Can we leave it here in the hospital so that I can see my baby? I know it brought me a lot of peace. I mean, I
Oh,
called my nurses and talked, but if I could have seen him, it would have made such a big difference.
I love that.
Very cool. Okay. These are awesome. You're so good. Okay. What's up next?
All right, let me give you a wild card one, because I was like, when I saw this, I'm like, y'all serious? Y'all serious right now? But then I bought into it. So bear with me here.
Okay.
There is a kid's flyaway bed, and it's an inflatable airplane bed for toddlers. And it's got this beautiful velvet cover for comfort, but essentially you inflate it easy. It's very portable. And you have to kind of imagine this with me, because it is made specifically for a plane seat. It's got this L-shaped mattress. So it rests
Okay.
on top of the plane seat and a leg that braces against the floor to keep it portable. You basically have a tabletop for your child to seat. Now, I was like, y'all are crazy. Your kid's not King Tut. Just deal with it for the flight. But then I was like, wait a second. No, this makes complete sense. Because especially if you're having a longer flight, they're fussing. Give them a great place to sleep and give them that comfort. Everybody around is happy, right? Again, easy to inflate, kids fly away bed, easy to deflate, and very portable. And when you see it and then you start to process it, you're like, wow, that's pretty genius.
There are so many things that I look around and I think I could have invented that. I
I
could have done
know,
that.
right? I
I
know
could have done that.
I like twice a week. I'm like, why didn't I come up with that? I see these things. I'm like, how could the parent's life be easier? The flyaway bed. Dang it.
I like that we have a wild card. What's the price on that one, Katie?
That one you can get for about $80. So there's a
Okay.
number of different options online. This is one of those ones where I'm like, go search out your options because there's like the high end version, and then there's ones that are going to be like, maybe a couple different features and a little bit different of a cover, but you can get it a little less expensive.
And I guess it depends too on how much you fly. So if you're like, we had a friend who was always flying to a children's hospital out of state, and they were on the airplane, once a month. So something like that might have actually made that process a lot easier than,
And especially for those longer flights. I think that's what really had me.
yeah.
I mean, we as adults, you get that like kind of itch when it's 3 hours, 3.5. You're like, oh, okay, I'm getting the itch. Like I got to get up. I'm getting antsy. For a child, I mean, it's like those longer flights. That to me is just invaluable.
20 minutes to them is long. So
Yeah,
3 hours feels like an eternity. Okay, I'm going to
right.
make you give us one more. I know you have a bunch, but I'm going to make you give me one more because these are really good. So we'll end on a high note.
I want to give you one that really falls into my world of just virtual learning because I often get asked as a parent about like the balance and when do you give
Yep.
the iPad? When do you even as a child gets older? When is it time for an iPhone, et cetera? And a device that I came across that just surprised me was the I Love Virtual Learning. And it's a great educational tool right before preschool. And this is like that critical time for learning, as you know. This device, it's going to teach the alphabet, words, numbers, shapes, over 60 storybooks. This is content that was created by educators. It's subscription free. And the whole environment is just this virtual learning. And they have these animal friends that they get interact with. And it uses AI in the sense this is good AI. I'm always about good ethical AI. It'll track the progress and the parents can use the app and manages their learning modes and also just sees where they're at. So it's constantly, giving them the education and advancing them at the right time. So safe content created by educators, and just very good virtual learning because you don't want them to get behind. At least this is my subjective opinion. You're the parents, you're in charge. But I always say, as they head into preschool, as they head into school, it is a digital world now. And I think for me, it's all about balance. And that's the most success that I've seen with my nieces and nephews. It's like balance, having those tools, having those resources, but also having the safe resources too. So Isla Virtual Learning, and it's animalisland.us is the website. It's about $250, but again, one of those investments, if you're looking for the right digital content, there you go.
Well, and like I'm thinking too, Katie, about kids who are nonverbal. And so technology for them, we have several friends who have kids who have cerebral palsy, and that is how they communicate is through a device. And so it not only makes them less frustrated because they're able to communicate how they feel, parents and people that love them are able to communicate back to them. And so I think in this sense, especially when you're looking at technology that maybe allows a kid to maybe they're in therapy for all sorts of different things. This sort of allows them to do things at home. And then when they go back to therapy, they've made a little bit more progress. So I think technology, at least in our experience, particularly when we're trying to get our kids to get closer to meeting a developmental milestone, things like this, wildly amazing, did not exist, when I had my first baby 23 years ago, but now exists now. And they can be such a great aid to both parents, but also people that are working with your kids to help them get to the next milestone.
I'd be remiss to not share too, off the heels of nonverbal, an app that I covered. Goodness, it was probably years ago at this point, but it was really mind blowing in terms of communication. If you have anyone that is nonverbal or having challenges with communication, Proloquo, you may have heard of this. It is a phenomenal app system that is a lot of pointing and communicating to different pictures. And I have seen it used in so much success. I covered it on national stories quite a few times, just from the autism side to the nonverbal side, and it really blew my mind. So Proloquo.
Okay, we'll add that one to the list. Well, and I mean, I think that there are, like you said, there's so many things out there. Katie, like what would be your advice to a parent so they know that there's a piece of technology or they know that there's something that can help their child, but there's like 30 choices. How do
Oh,
you how do you discern which one is the best one for your family? I know that may partially depend on your particular circumstances and budget, but sort of how do you differentiate the like cheap Amazon thing that you see that's like on Reels versus the thing that you know is really going to benefit your family. You know what I'm talking about.
I totally know what you're talking about. And I know I'm going to give you the most archaic answer as like somebody that like lives their life and career in technology. You have to ask around. And like, that's how I get my best information in term when we get like very niche with like baby gadgets. You've got to ask friends, you got to ask family and go on those reviews. I think that's such a huge benefit these days.
Yeah.
When you're hopping on an Amazon and you see like there's 4 reviews as opposed to like 1,500 and it's got 5 stars. I think that's so advantageous these days, but you got to do the homework. And, I have to maybe overshare, when I'm doing segments on TV, I know people trust me so much. I am testing and I am reviewing and I am making sure that any product that I put on there is going to be 100% a win because people are going to get mad at you. And it's just your integrity for putting on, products that are phenomenal and that actually work. You never want somebody being disappointed in what you suggest, but it's all about research and it's all about homework. And, I've actually just started to compile and I'll send you the link over to finally, it's kind of overdue, is my own Amazon shop just storefront. So people are always asking me, what is the best? What is the best? What is the best? And I'm like, all right, I've put everything on there. And of course, like the declaration that you can have like affiliate links, but it's worth it now for me to just start compiling everything because I spend so many hours in a day researching products. So to take the guesswork out of it for, and not everybody is at that level of technology to understand what's the best out there. So I try to make it easier for people, but just ask around and get your trusted sources. And especially as a mom, that the personal reviews and the personal suggestions from your friends and family are just so invaluable.
Well, and I'm with you, Katie, is that when I know that one of my friends is an expert in something, I tend to just be like, okay, this is what you do all day. What should I What do
Yes.
you suggest? Because there are things that they might come ask me for. And I'm like, actually, that's my whole life. I live that. I'll be happy to share that with you. And I think we forget that we all want to help each other. And I've found that in the NICU community is that when something works really well, you tell all your NICU mom friends because you're like, you have to get this thing because it's life changing, as opposed to feeling like you need to spend the next 6 hours that you do not have on the internet researching a subject that you're like, feeling way out of your element on. So I think that's really good advice. Talk to other people. And I'm with you. Reviews, and I leave reviews too. When it's
Oh
really
my
good,
gosh.
or I'm one of
You
those
leave them
people
like
like,
paragraph reviews. I'm
no,
like,
no,
what are these people?
no, I'm like 2 or 3 sentences like this is totally worth your money, or
That's
don't bother,
good.
move on to the next thing. Yeah,
That's good.
it helps. All right. So last question. I always ask a good wisdom question, a good piece of advice question at the very end, because that's why I have my guests on here, is because they are specialists in something. So if there's a parent, Katie, who wants to use technology for their benefit as opposed to using it for their detriment, what would be your best advice to them in seeking out the differences between technology that can benefit their family versus technology that might be something that really could detract from what they're trying to do as a family?
My initial response, like my gut response, is balance. And I think it's really critical as we're living in a digital modern age and society. It's like, it's kind of a no brainer, but you've got to find the balance of reality and digital. But at the same time, I think even maybe more importantly is understanding the technology that they're using. Because I think even with social media, do you understand how TikTok works? Do you understand what they're exposed to? Do you understand what the different content they can and how they can operate it, manipulate? Get on there and do it yourself. Even if you create a fake account, just to understand how it works. Anything that maybe your child could be using. And again, parents, you're the boss, you're in charge. All I can do is come at it from my technology perspective and my subjective opinion. So I'll make that very clear because I'm in awe of parents. I watch my sisters and I'm like, I don't know how y'all do it. It's impressive. I don't know, Catherine, how you do it. Amazing. But I think in understanding, even at a surface level, everything that they're exposed to and everything that they're using just makes you all the better because you want to know that language, even if it's surfacey, know a little bit what's going on so you know what they've gotten into.
So be curious.
Curious. Stay out of judgment, remain curious. It's one of my favorite quotes I've heard recently.
It's a good one. Katie, thank you so much for your example and your wisdom and your good recommendations. I know that they will benefit many families. Hot dog. Katie was so good. I love that she is so passionate about what it is that she does on a daily basis with technology. She's been doing it for a long time. And what a gift to be the recipient of that wisdom and that knowledge. So in today's 2-minute take, I mean, the products, we will definitely link to all those in the show notes. Don't worry, they're all in there. And while I loved hearing about the latest and greatest and how technology can help us benefit our lives, I think in the take today, the thing that I loved the most and that resonated with me the most is when I asked her the question about, all right, there's all these products in the world. You've got a problem. You're trying to figure out how to solve it. How do you find the thing? How do you find the piece of technology or the gadget that helps make it better? And her advice was not go to the internet, read more, Google things. It was ask the people in your life. Ask them what they love, what they're using. And in our case, as a NICU community, we have sometimes unique things that we are dealing with. And the families that are in the trenches with us that have been in the NICU before are some of our best resources. What a good reminder to say, look around, y'all. Talk to the people that are in your life. Talk to those moms and dads and caregivers that you know. What problem do they have that you also have? And how is technology or how is a gadget helping them overcome that? Meet a milestone, make day-to-day life easier, get more sleep, whatever. And the personal connection doesn't go away even when we integrate technology into our life. And I think that was the thing that I took from Katie is that there are some pieces of technology that truly can make our children's lives and our lives better if we discern and use them well. And then there are times that we, like she said, find the balance of saying, okay, and now we're going to set that gadget or we're going to set that piece of technology aside and we are going to engage face to face. So finding that balance. And I think there's no better guest to end the 2023 season with than Katie as we all learn to find our balance as NICU parents and caregivers. So next week, I will be back for one last episode for 2023, and I'll be sharing with you some lessons learned this season, but also what you get to look forward to in 2024, which is going to be a really exceptional year on the podcast. So I'm very much looking forward to bringing you more guests, more information, and helping you feel seen right where you are. So enjoy this week's episode, send it to a friend, and I will see y'all next week. Thanks y'all for listening to NICU Babies Parent Support. Every parent and every experience is welcome here. If you are a NICU parent and you're finding yourself in need of support, please download our app. You can find it in the Apple Store or on Google Play, Hand to Hold. And if you love today's episode, you can share it, you can subscribe, and you can most certainly review it. We would love, love, love your reviews. It's how we reach more NICU parents. Thanks, and I'll see y'all next time.